a little deeper into policy making. So, in today's session, we'll look at what is the exact process of policy making, how is policy made, what goes on in the parliament, what goes on behind the scenes, what goes on before a bill is passed, what goes on, what happens after the bill is passed by the parliament. So all these things we'll discuss in detail. So today's session is about policy making. How is it done? Now the agenda is very pretty simple. We'll first study about the policy making process and then go on to study how citizens can engage in this process. Now, since we call ourselves a participatory democracy, now citizens' job does not end with voting once every 5 years and electing their representatives, but it is also in trying to engage with policymakers or trying to engage in the whole process of policy making. So we'll see if there are any avenues for normal citizens, common citizens to engage with this whole process of policy making. Right. Now, let us first understand what is the process of policy making. Now, broadly speaking, there are 5 steps in any any law to be passed or any policy to be made. There are broadly 5 steps. The first step is always the need for a new law. Now, what do we mean by a new? Each of these steps we'll discuss in detail, but I'll just briefly give you an overview of what each of them means. Now, either the government or a civil society or some member of parliament, somebody has to feel a need for the bill. So if we do not feel the need for the bill, there is no question of coming up with law. So the first step is always the need for a new bill or a law or a policy or the need for an amendment to an existing bill. The second step is drafting the bill. Somebody has to put together what this bill means, what is it intended to do, what will it do, how will it affect the existing scenario, if it is altering or changing anything that is existing. And then the cabinet has to approve the draft bill that is generally drafted by the concerned ministry. Then the third step is this same bill that is approved by the cabinet is taken to the parliament, to either of the houses, except in case of money bills. So, each house of parliament discusses. Now, step 3 is actually where the crux of it lies. Now, we'll go into detail of step 3, what happens inside the parliament. Now, once the bill goes to the parliament, what happens inside the parliament is something that we'll discuss. So, step 3 is discussion in the parliament, introduction, discussion, and then finally the parliament will pass the bill. Now, step 4, once the parliament passes the bill cannot become an act. Act is like a notification. This from today, this act will be in force. That will not happen until the president gives his signature or his assent. So, step 4, once the bill is passed by the parliament, it goes to the president for his assent. Then step 5 is notification, rules and regulations. So, once the president puts his stamp, his signature, so it is notified in the Gazette saying, from this day, this act, this bill has become an act, and then the rules and regulations are notified. Now, what do we mean by rules and regulations? What is the difference between the bill and rules and regulations? We'll discuss.